Hello. Hello. Oh, he's in my hair. Hello, darling. Hello, reptile friends. My name is India, aka Anacondrac, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about ball pythons and their picky eating. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone will have heard that ball pythons are notorious for being very picky eaters and for going off their food quite frequently and for long stretches of time as well. So ball pythons, like my lovely little Louie here. Hello, bud. Oh, I love him so much. He is my little yellow best friend, and I am so lucky that he has never ever refused a meal. When I bought him, the breeder told me that he was a really good eater and that he'd never had any trouble. And as Louie's my first snake, that was really important to me when I was choosing him. But for today's video, I've come up with 9 tips and tricks to help your ball python if they do go off their food. So the first thing that I just want to say is if your snake goes off its food, the first thing that you want to do is take it to a qualified reptile vet. They'll be able to check your snake over and make sure that the reason that it's lost its appetite is not due to any medical reasons, such as illness or parasites. The next thing is to keep track of your snake's weight at all times. I like to weigh all my reptiles once a week. If your snake has stopped eating but it is not losing weight, then it could just be that it stopped eating due to a season change, or because it is full or doesn't quite feel like it. The important thing is to monitor their weight, and if they do start to lose weight, take them to the vet immediately. So if your ball python has stopped eating and you've taken to the vet to make sure there is nothing wrong with him or her, then we can start with the 9 tips and tricks. Tip number 1 is to make sure that your animal husbandry is all correct. If the environment is not perfect for your ball python, that can cause them to go off their food. They are very sensitive to both temperature and humidity, so make sure that all of your conditions are correct, and if they aren't, correct the temperatures and the humidity and your ball python may start eating again. Point number 2 is stress. Ball pythons are very sensitive to stress. They can become stressed from changes to their environment. If they think that their enclosure is too big with not enough hides, that can cause them to become stressed as well because they don't feel safe. And also their enclosure might be in a place that has too much foot traffic going past it, making it too busy. They also might have been handled a bit too much, especially if your snake is brand new to you. Try fixing some of these points and then leaving the snake for a couple of days before offering food again. If the snake is feeling more relaxed and more comfortable, then they might take the food from you. Louie, I love you. Yes? Yes I do. Yes I do, little guy. Tip number 3 is warming up the food. Now I personally do this anyway with all my snakes. I defrost the rodents in warm but not boiling water, and that makes sure that not only are they defrosted thoroughly, but the rodents are warmed up to a nice temperature, and that creates an enticing smell which gets the snake excited and ready to eat. If you defrost your rodents, for example, by leaving them overnight, they might not be warm, so try using warm water to heat up the rodents a little bit before offering them to your snake. You might find that making a small difference to the defrosting routine actually makes the rodents a lot more appetizing to your ball python. And moving on to point 4, which is reducing the size of the prey. For example, if your ball python is taking weaned rats, try feeding them rat fuzzies. If they do accept the smaller prey size, you can always feed them 2 of the smaller size rather than the 1 larger prey size that they were refusing. The scaling down method was actually recommended to me by my local independent pet shop who has kept snakes for many years. And in his experience, that's the one fail-safe method that always gets ball pythons eating again, so it's definitely worth a try. There is literally not enough cups of tea in the world for me today. And yes, it is summer and I have my Christmas mug. Stop judging me! Now on to number 5. Now this one is a controversial topic, feeding your ball python in a separate tub or box or container. Now the reptile community is really divided on this one because it is thought that taking the reptile out of its enclosure to feed them in a separate tub, especially handling them after food, can cause them enough stress to regurgitate their food. So that is definitely something to keep in mind if you are going to try this. But if your ball python has been off food for weeks or even months, I'm pretty sure you're willing to try everything, so it might be worth giving it a shot. But if the ball python does eat the food and then regurgitate it, please don't continue with this method. as continual regurgitation of food is very, very damaging to ball pythons' health, and you'll just have to find another method to coax them to eat. Now, point 6 is actually another really simple one, and that is just to leave the food in with the snake for a period of time while you leave the room, and just make everything very calm for the snake. Some people have found success with just leaving the defrosted rodent in with their snake while they leave the room and let their ball python eat it in their own time. You just have to make sure not to leave it in there too long because you don't want the rodent to start to go bad. It could just be that your presence in the room while your snake is trying to eat is causing your python stress, so that's why they're not taking their food. It is important though, if you are going to leave the food in the tank, to make sure that it's on something like a paper towel or paper plate so no substrate gets stuck to it and causes an impaction risk if the rodent is eaten. We're matching today, Louie, we're both wearing yellow. Well, one of us is going to have to change. Here's another unconventional one with point 7, and that's changing the colour of the rodents. Now, I couldn't actually believe this when I heard it, but I've heard accounts of some people's pet snakes preferring to eat a certain colour of rice or mats. Rice or mats? Oh Christ. Rice or mats. Right, okay. I've heard people's pet snakes only eating certain colours of rats or mice, such as they won't take white ones but will eat black or brown mice. But it definitely might be worth a try if your ball python is off their food to try offering them a different colour of rodent. That might just make all the difference. You never know. It's worth a try, surely. Anything's worth a try. What's your advice to snake owners whose snakes have gone off their food? Have you got anything to contribute? No? Just your cuteness? Okay. I've completely lost track of what number point we're on now. Oh dear. Right, okay. Next one, whatever number that is. And that's scenting the food. Now, you've got quite a number of options if you do decide to go down this route. It could just be that the smell of frozen and thawed rodents is really not appetizing to your snake at all. Some people have had success with using used rodent bedding to scent the prey to make it smell more like a live rat or mouse. But it's just important to note that if you are using used bedding, that there could be parasites or other problems associated with using it, especially if the used bedding has been exposed to rodent feces. Now, I have heard of people even using things extreme like tuna fish to scent rodents to make them more appetizing to snakes. I can't say because I've never had to do that, but again, it surely is worth a try. Or another thing that is available, and I will link this product in the description, and that's African soft fur rat juice. That's a little bottle of scent that smells like African soft fur rats, which is one of the prey items that ball pythons would naturally hunt in the wild. So if your python is displaying picky eating problems, that could be something to invest in. It is a little bit pricey. The only website I have found it on sells it for about $30, but once again, anything's worth a try to get your little friend eating again. Tea break! My life revolves around my reptiles, caffeine, and my plants. I love a good cactus. They're pricks, just like me. Can I say that in a YouTube video? Well, I just did anyway. Now, the next one does get a little bit gory, and that is braining the rodents. It sounds really disgusting, but it is actually a pretty common way of enticing snakes to eat. All you do is take the defrosted rodent and use something sharp to open up the brain cavity and expose the brain. This will really enhance the smell and make it a lot more appetizing for your snake. And then they should be more likely to take the food. It should really enhance their feeding response. So it is something to bear in mind. However, this one will definitely not be for the faint of hearted. More tea. And now it's on to the last trick to get your ball python to eat, and this one does come with a disclaimer. If you have tried everything to get your snake to eat and it is still not taking anything, you might want to consider assist feeding. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, assist feeding should only be done by someone who has been trained to do so. Don't try it yourself unless you completely know what you're doing. You could end up doing more harm than good to your snake. Assist feeding just means that the snake's mouth is opened and then the rodent is inserted into the mouth and slightly down the throat, and then the snake is encouraged to start eating. This is definitely the most intrusive of all the methods, and it should really only be done as a last resort. If you are considering doing assist feeding, please go to your reptile vet and ask their advice first. So after all of those 9 tips and tricks, I really hope you found something that will help you and your snake. Please let me know in the comments if any of these tips have helped you. I would really like to know. And then that's it for today's video. Please remember to give this video a big thumbs up, and then remember to subscribe and click the little bell notification, which will make sure that you never miss one of my uploads. I really hope today's video has helped you guys, and I will see you next week for another video.